So there's a couple things that I encourage people to focus on. The first one is give the hiring process the time and energy that it deserves. I know that, even as an entrepreneur, someone who knows better, I have been like, oh my word, I am so desperate to fill this position. I am so like over my head with work. As long as a person fogs up a mirror, I'm going to hire them. And so they come in, they fog the mirror. Great, you're hired. Get to work. That's a huge mistake because you're hiring someone. I mean, you're going to spend tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars in salary over the years. They are part of your organization, your people, your culture. That is how your customers interact with you. It's how your suppliers interact with you. So that is not something that should be taken lightly. And if you make a bad hire, it's going to cost you tens of thousands of dollars to try and get rid of that person. So the first thing is put the time and effort into it. We recommend 20 to 30 hours for a hiring process for a specific position. That is helping to find that position well, helping to find your values and your culture well, and I'll get to that in a second. It's also going out there and doing that recruiting process. It's screening. It's doing multiple interviews to make sure that you're actually talking to the right people. You think about it, if you have 5 people apply and you do a 30-minute interview with 3 different people for each of those 5, well, all of a sudden you've got 15 30-minute interviews that you need to schedule. And then you need to make sure that you're really digesting that information well to make a good decision. Then you need to onboard them well so they understand your culture and your values. You just need to strap in for 20 to 30 hours to hire a person, or you need to hire someone like Red Balloon or someone else who can do that for you. So that's the first thing, is just make sure, don't cut the hiring process short. Don't be chintzy on that. It will cost you way more than you are saving by doing it that way.
Okay.
So that's the first
having
one.
Having
a process, make sure you run the process, give it the time and energy you need. And then the second one is having a process. So we encourage our employers to live your values out loud in the way you do your hiring. So when I was a CEO of that large business doing the labor market data, I was the final interview for as many of the employees as I could. I wasn't always, but for the most part I was. And I just wanted to make sure they were going to be a culture fit, but then I also wanted to give them a full disclosure. I said, look, I'm an unapologetic conservative Christian in the way that I run this business. That's who I am. It's not a prerequisite. It's not a weird thing. Everyone is welcome here, but this is who I am, and this is how I'm going to run my business. And I only had in 15 years 2 people say, I'm not super comfortable with that. I'm like, you know what? Then we've probably both saved ourselves a lot of time and effort. Yeah. But as my lawyer told me, I was effectively being the contents of this cup might be hot, like the McDonald's cup, right? Where it says it might be hot. That way, if you burn yourself, you can't sue them because they already told you it's hot. They did a full disclosure on some of the risks or issues that might be associated with it. Same thing. If you're a business that believes in meritocracy, or you're a Christian or a conservative, or if you're a liberal, be out front about who you are and the work culture that you're trying to accomplish. And that way people can make an eyes open decision before they take the job. And then if they do, they can't sue you for it later. Like they can't come back 6 months later and say, you prayed at the Christmas dinner. And so I'm going to sue you for that. I'll be like, I told you I was an unapologetic conservative Christian. So deal with it. Right. And so we basically didn't have any labor-based lawsuits. We had a couple of employees who tried that, very few, I think maybe 2. And they didn't go anywhere because we had kind of crossed our T's and dotted our I's of living our values out loud. So they didn't have anywhere to go. So it feels terrifying. You're like, man, are we going to lose customers? You'd be surprised. People are attracted to people, to businesses who actually know who they are and actually believe in a thing, right? You don't have to push your worldview on everyone. You don't have to hand out tracts in the office. You just need to be confident in who you are and what you believe.